Buckle up. Because of this Snow White situation, it somehow went from Disney reboot to reality TV reunion fight real quick. And Gal Gadot, yes, Wonder Woman herself, just got dragged straight into the chaos, allegedly not so subtly losing it on her co-star Rachel Zegler over the messiest PR disaster Disney has fumbled in years. Before we dive into one of the most bizarre and chilling mysteries to ever hit Hollywood, make sure to subscribe if you love deep dives into unsolved cases, hidden truths, and shocking celebrity mysteries. Trust me, this one is going to leave you speechless. Yep, we're talking tone-deaf interviews, fan-base implosions, girl boss backlashes, and now, an alleged Gal Gadot smackdown that has fans screaming, "Did she just say that?" Let's unpack the Disney drama no one saw coming, Snow White and the 7 PR nightmares. So imagine this. You're Disney. You're already crawling out of the PR grave dug by the Little Mermaid discourse, Haunted Mansion flopping harder than a TikTok dance trend in 2023, and Marvel barely holding on with chewed gum and fan nostalgia. You think, let's do Snow White, a classic, safe. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Because instead of a sweet fairy tale reimagining, we got Rachel Zegler versus the world, a social media battlefield, and now whispers that Gal Gadot is low-key done playing nice with her Gen Z co-star. This isn't just a remake. This is a Hollywood implosion in a poison apple costume. And you're front row, baby. Let's rewind to when Rachel Zegler got cast as Snow White. The internet was divided. On one side, people were celebrating the casting of a Latina actress in a traditionally white-as-snow role. On the other, we had the usual crowd of, "Why is Hollywood ruining my childhood," folks. But the real trouble didn't start there. It started when Rachel Zegler, in full promo mode, decided to channel her inner PR arsonist. In multiple interviews, she called the original Snow White story weird, creepy, and basically said the prince was giving major restraining order energy. Oh, and she wasn't playing a damsel in distress. Her Snow White? A girl boss CEO in training who doesn't need love. She needs a LinkedIn profile. Twitter was a war zone. Comment sections? Radioactive. People were like, "You're trashing the movie you're literally promoting?" And while Rachel was out here rewriting the Brothers Grimm into a TED Talk, Gal Gadot, the actual evil queen in this film, was doing her best to play it cool. But behind the scenes, allegedly, Mama was fuming. According to insiders, read anonymous industry gossip that lives rent-free in our minds, Gal Gadot was not vibing with Rachel's whole, "the original is stupid and I hate love" energy. And like, can you blame her? Imagine you're Gal Gadot, you've worn the Wonder Woman boots, survived Justice League reshoots, and somehow made Imagine during COVID not end your career. You show up to play the evil queen, do the campy Disney thing, serve high cheekbone royalty realness, and your co-stars out here implying the movie is basically misogynistic trash. Allegedly, Gal confronted Rachel, not screaming and throwing tiaras. More like that icy, passive-aggressive, "I'm disappointed" energy only a seasoned actress can deliver. Think, "Sweetie, I know you're young, but maybe don't insult the billion-dollar IP we're promoting." Sources say the tension was thick. Promo events were described as awkward, chemistry between the leads, non-existent. At one press junket, Gal allegedly rolled her eyes so hard when Rachel spoke, they almost fell out of her skull. And the fans? They noticed. Clips started circulating of Gal looking visibly irritated next to Rachel. TikTok did its thing. Side eyes, zoom-ins, dramatic music overlays. You know the drill. At this point, people were starting to root for the villain. Gal Gadot, the literal evil queen, was suddenly the fan favorite. Talk about a plot twist. So now you've got Rachel Zegler alienating Disney adults, conservatives, feminists, and nostalgic millennials in a single press tour. You've got Gal Gadot allegedly throwing silent shade like she's on the set of Real Housewives of Disneyland. And then, the movie gets delayed an entire year. Disney claimed it was due to the strikes, post-production, blah blah blah, but fans weren't buying it. Many were like, "Nah, y'all are waiting for the internet to forget how much we collectively despise this promo cycle." Even Peter Dinklage, who's never asked for this drama, accidentally ignited part of the firestorm when he criticized the idea of remaking Snow White with 7 dwarfs in the first place, which led Disney to weirdly replace them with a diverse group of magical creatures that looked like a Renaissance fair exploded. It was chaos on top of chaos. And Rachel, she kinda disappeared. Social media silence, PR lockdown, classic go to your room and think about what you did energy from the mouse house. Gal, on the other hand, popped back up doing other projects, smiling, being unproblematic, and possibly secretly relieved that she no longer had to fake smile next to her chaotic co-star. It's giving Snow White and the passive-aggressive queen. So here's the thing. Rachel Zegler wasn't just promoting Snow White like she had a gun to her head. She was out here giving A24 film lead trying to dismantle the patriarchy vibes. Every interview was like a therapy session with BuzzFeed. I didn't like the original movie. We're not doing that anymore. She's not dreaming about true love, she's dreaming about being a leader. Okay, Miss Corporate Feminism. Like, you're playing a girl who talks to woodland creatures, not auditioning to be the next CEO of Goldman Sachs. And look, there's nothing wrong with modernizing fairy tales. But the way Rachel spoke about the original film made it sound like it personally keyed her car. People weren't hearing, "We're updating the story with love and care." They were hearing, "This entire legacy is dumb and I'm better than it." And the kicker? She kept doubling down. This wasn't one offhand comment taken out of context. Nah, there were compilations. Like full TikTok edits of her dragging Snow White across 5 different interviews, all set to villain music. Some genius even titled it "How to Alienate a Fan Base in 60 Seconds. At one point, it stopped feeling like PR and started feeling like performance art. And through it all, Gal Gadot was just chilling in her throne, probably drinking water, moisturizing, and waiting for Rachel to stop throwing the kingdom under the bus. But wait, it gets messier. Once the backlash hit peak velocity, Disney's PR team went into DEFCON 1. You could smell the boardroom panic. Suddenly, all the original promo clips vanished. Entire press junkets? Gone. Like Disney had Thanos snapped the internet and hoped we wouldn't notice. They started scrubbing quotes, locking down interviews, and straight up shelving the film like it was radioactive. And then came the worst possible fix, the rebrand. First, the movie's name changed on promotional materials. It wasn't Snow White anymore. It was suddenly Disney's Snow White. Like slapping the word Disney on it would somehow make people forget the PR bloodbath. Then, the test screenings. Oh, the test screenings. Rumors started spilling out faster than leaked Marvel spoilers. People who allegedly saw early cuts claimed the film felt confused, preachy, and one even called it a parody of a Disney remake written by AI. And don't even get me started on the visuals. Those leaked set photos, the magical creatures that replaced the dwarfs? Bro, they looked like background NPCs from a PS2 game. One of them had a man bun and a flannel. Flannel. Who approved this? Did someone just binge-watch Portlandia and decide that's the new aesthetic? Meanwhile, Gal Gadot was doing promo for literally anything else. Her Netflix spy thriller, skincare lines, giving interviews that suspiciously never mentioned Snow White. She had entered her I don't know her Mariah Carey era, and honestly, iconic. At this point, the fandom wasn't just mad, they were messy. People were organizing boycotts, making anti-Rachel merch, and starting full Reddit threads titled "The Fall of Snow Woke." Yes, that's a thing. No, I'm not proud of knowing that. It was giving 2016 Ghostbusters reboot discourse, but with even more passive-aggressive tweets and Disney adults, the most chaotic demographic on Earth. Even people who wanted to support a more inclusive feminist Snow White were like, okay, but can she stop roasting the story like it bullied her in high school? And then, because we hadn't hit rock bottom yet, past Rachel Zegler clips started resurfacing. Old tweets, old interviews, awkward moments from West Side Story promo days. Every mildly cringe thing she's ever said was suddenly getting the CSI, internet treatment. And honestly, some of it was unfair. She's young, she's outspoken, and yeah, maybe a little too online. But this wasn't criticism anymore. This was full-on career drag season. and Rachel didn't have enough PR armor to survive it. Meanwhile, Gal? Still unbothered, still glowing, probably sipping tea in Tel Aviv, watching the internet eat itself alive and thanking her agent for keeping her booked and busy outside of fairy tale reboots. You think it was just fans side-eyeing this chaos? Oh no, Hollywood was paying very close attention. Insiders started talking, publicists, casting agents, producers. The word difficult began floating around Rachel's name like a ghost. And in an industry where perception is everything, being labeled difficult is like being cursed by Maleficent. Some execs reportedly called the Snow White drama a case study in what not to do with a rising star. Others said Disney was rethinking their entire marketing strategy for remakes because of this mess. Like years of planning got torched because someone couldn't just smile, say, "I love Snow White," and call it a day. Even actresses who once praised Rachel's talent started going mysteriously silent. Co-stars from other films? Nowhere to be found. Like she suddenly developed social leprosy. And then, oh, the petty cherry on top, Gal Gadot allegedly unfollowed Rachel on Instagram. Now, that's unconfirmed. But even the rumor of it was enough to send fans into meltdown mode. Threads, TikToks. Gal unfollowed her? Memes. It was digital warfare. And let's be honest, whether she did it or not, the idea that Gal would silently hit unfollow while sipping espresso somewhere in Europe? Deliciously villain-coded. Let's pause for a second and appreciate the real twist here. Gal Gadot, literal evil queen in the movie, became the sympathetic one. Like, how do you fumble the optics that hard? Gal had one job: be glam, wear capes, act regal, slay in slow motion. But thanks to Rachel's PR inferno, Gal ended up looking like the misunderstood hero who just wanted to make a cute family movie and go home. People were rooting for her to throw more shade. Fans were tweeting things like, "Gal should have just turned her to stone and walked off set." "Snow White who? We're here for the evil queen arc." And the best part? Gal never publicly addressed the drama. Not once. She gave interviews that suspiciously steered away from any mention of Rachel, Snow White, or modern fairy tales. Queen of boundaries. Queen of, I said what I said with my silence. Meanwhile, Rachel was spiraling through every stage of internet cancellation. Denial, defiance, disappearance, and finally, silence. Disney? Still pretending the movie doesn't exist. Delayed till 2025, which is like 5 years in internet years. Let's talk about how this Snow White mess triggered a mass influencer revolt. Because, oh yes, the girlies with ring lights and brand deals got involved, and they had opinions. At first, you had your standard pop culture commentators reacting to Rachel's quotes. But then it snowballed into a full-blown YouTube pipeline event. Think, Snow White woke meltdown explained. Rachel Zegler needs a new PR team. Gal Gadot deserves better, a 45-minute analysis. And while some of those creators were clearly chasing rage-bait views, a lot of them were hitting nerves, especially the female creators, because they weren't just critiquing Rachel's interviews. They were dissecting the way she weaponized feminism as a shield for, let's be honest, being kind of smug and dismissive. This isn't feminism, it's narcissism. It became a whole aesthetic. Influencers started doing side-by-side breakdowns of Rachel versus old-school Disney heroines, like Belle and Mulan, pointing out that you can be empowered without being condescending to the past. Even Gen Z influencers, who you'd think would be her biggest supporters, started going, "Wait, do I even want this version of Snow White?" It was like watching your favorite indie coffee shop gentrify itself in real time. And when Rachel went radio silent, influencers did not let up. They kept stitching old clips, revisiting the controversy, milking it for every last algorithmic drop like it was almond milk in a $9 latte. And Gal Gadot? Literally not involved. Didn't say a word. Didn't repost a thing. Just sat there with perfect posture in whatever luxury hotel she was staying in, silently watching her enemy self-destruct. Iconic. Because this is 2025 and we live in a timeline where reality has been written by a bored Black Mirror intern, It was only a matter of time before AI got involved. Some genius over at Disney, or maybe a desperate intern trying to salvage their job, decided to test out an AI-generated Snow White promo. You heard me right. They fed the film's script, concept art, and press tour footage into a generative AI to create a teaser trailer. And it was horrifying. Snow White's face kept morphing mid-sentence like a glitchy Sims character. Gal Gadot's evil queen looked like she was rendered by a haunted version of Pixar. The magical creatures looked like they were made of melted plastic and regret. But the wildest part? The AI-generated Rachel Zegler was actually more likable than the real one. The internet lost it. People were like, why does AI Snow White seem more humble? I trust this bot more than the live-action cast. Give her the reboot. Disney pulled it within hours, but the screenshots live on. You can't unpost on the internet, sweetie. The memes were instant. Twitter renamed the AI version Snow Slightly More Tolerable. And somewhere, Gal Gadot probably watched it, took a sip of her green juice, and said nothing. Because why speak when the internet will do the dragging for you? Every PR implosion eventually enters its conspiracy theory phase, and this one did not disappoint. Suddenly, TikTok was filled with evidence that the Snow White reboot was cursed. No, literally. People were making videos tracing a timeline of disasters tied to the production, camera malfunctions, set injuries, weather delays. One user claimed Rachel Zegler tripped at least 3 times while filming a scene in the forest and dubbed it the curse of the apple. But it didn't stop at curses. Oh no, the conspiracy girlies went deep. There were threads about how Disney intentionally sabotaged the film to tank Rachel's career and reboot it later with a new cast. There were claims that Gal Gadot had a morality clause that limited what she could say during the PR meltdown, which is why she never defended or supported Rachel publicly. Some even theorized that the delay wasn't because of VFX. It was reshoots, without Rachel, with a brand new lead quietly waiting in the wings. Insane? Yes. Entertaining? Also, yes. And the views on these videos? Millions. The public didn't just lose faith in the film. They started believing there was something sinister happening behind the scenes. And the more Disney said nothing, the louder the conspiracies got. After months of silence, Rachel Zegler finally tried to make a return. She posted a Notes app apology, of course, something about how she never meant to disrespect the legacy, and how she was still growing, still learning, and wanted to thank everyone who's been patient. Cute. Except, she posted it on her Instagram story. You know, where it disappears after 24 hours. Like, if you're gonna grovel, at least let it stay up for longer than a TikTok trend cycle. The internet saw through it immediately. People were like, this is the most passive non-apology I've ever read. You dragged a classic film for months, and now we're supposed to forgive you over an expired Instagram post? Put it on the grid or don't bother. And when she did return to public events, let's just say the energy was awkward. Photographers didn't exactly rush to her. Interviewers tiptoed around Snow White like it was Voldemort, and fans were visibly colder. Meanwhile, Gal Gadot was over here in metallic couture at the Critics' Choice Awards, beaming like a woman who had never been part of the worst PR disaster in Disney history. The juxtaposition was embarrassing. Let's pour one out for the poor, doomed merch line. You know how every Disney live-action reboot comes with mountains of tie-in toys, clothes, makeup collabs, limited edition Funko Pops? Well, not this time. Retailers started pulling Snow White products months before the delay was even announced. Entire product lines were quietly shelved. Collabs were canceled before they could launch. A rumored ColourPop Snow White collection never saw the light of day. And get this, some of the merch that did leak out ended up on clearance shelves for 70% off before the movie even premiered. That's unheard of. It's like the universe was just embarrassed for them. Meanwhile, Funko released a Gal Gadot Evil Queen pop, and that thing sold out instantly. Fans weren't here for Snow White's empowerment arc. They wanted camp, villainy, and a woman who could pull off a velvet cape with a vengeance. The market had spoken, loudly. So, where does Disney even go from here? They've pushed the movie to 2025, but the stink of the drama still lingers like someone microwaved fish in the break room. Rumors are swirling about more reshoots, a possible title change, and maybe even a streaming-only release. Can you imagine? A Snow White reboot with a $100+ million budget getting demoted to Disney Plus like it's a forgotten Halloween special? Tragic. And don't forget, this movie was supposed to be the launchpad for Rachel Zegler as the next big thing. Instead, it's become the cautionary tale they'll teach in PR school. Chapter 5, How to Tank a Disney Franchise Before It Even Premieres. Gal Gadot, on the other hand, she'll be fine. She's already lined up for 3 more films, producing a spy drama, and probably negotiating her own lifestyle brand called Queen Energy as we speak. She played the villain and somehow walked away the hero. So, what have we learned? If you're going to star in a Disney princess remake, maybe don't publicly roast the movie you're being paid to promote. Maybe don't take a flamethrower to 80+ years of fan nostalgia. And definitely don't piss off Gal Gadot, because the evil queen might just turn out to be the hero of this story. Snow White went from happily ever after to canceled until further notice, and we got a front row seat to the implosion. But the real magic? Watching it all burn in slow motion. Delicious. Let us know in the comments. Are you Team Rachel, Team Gal, or Team This Movie Needs an Exorcism? And don't forget to subscribe for more messy meltdowns, PR disasters, and unhinged Hollywood moments that make you say, this can't be real life. Because in 2025, reality is stranger than fairy tales.